Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Monday morning, the 24th of August. Couple minutes behind. Of course, you didn't get blown off, Stanley. I don't blow anybody off because the only thing that keeps me off is technical problems. That would be Vimeo blowing you off. Anyhow, I jest a little bit. I hear that Shaw had some problems as well on the technical side. Thank you, Chicago, for the knocks there. Good to know that everybody can hear me and can hopefully see me. I'm bringing up a couple of things right now just to get us started. We got a lot to talk about. Also going to take a little bit of a different angle this week. This has happened once before on us. Office is going to update as I'm opening up PowerPoint presentation. Last time this happened, I got to walk you guys through the charts on my own. We're live. We are live. Give me just a couple of seconds for this to come up and give us the actual PowerPoint slide, and I'll talk to you about what I was going to talk about with the slides. This morning, obviously, things off to a very strong start. Lots of news about COVID-19, about possible vaccinations, and obviously some other forms of therapeutics through the use of blood plasma, obviously released this weekend with the president making that announcement last night. That's really what's given the market a bump here. We've got Operation Warp Speed that appears to be going a little faster than everyone thought. Put the rumors and allegations aside of deep state, and maybe it's me being picky about how you use the term a deep state, but I think that you should actually capitalize it every time you use it if you're going to say it as if it were a deep state. And we are running into the problems with the PowerPoint slide. So it's going to be just me giving you the information again. Guys, this is the second time it's happened. We know we can get through it though. So anyhow, news of the coronavirus and the possibility of that warp speed driving us toward vaccinations, helping out a lot of the companies out. The Moderna you're going to see jump today. Also, we'll see AstraZeneca, a position that we hold in the night trader portfolio as well, up about 4% earlier this morning. A couple of other things that I wanted to talk about are the transportation stocks. You've got the transportation stocks that are in a nice weird spot where you do have a little bit of good COVID news. Companies like American Airline, Delta Airline, Southwest Airline right now trading up higher by about 4%, along with Carnival Cruise Line and Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. But at the same time, the same stocks that we see jump about 3 to 4% every time something positive happens. So my point to you, wow, I'm sorry to hear about that, Big J. I was just looking down at what was going on in the stream there. So my point to you here is that you are going to see those stocks jump up again out of bed, and they'll settle back down again unless we see something come through over the next week or so. And we all know that's not going to happen. It's just not in the cards yet. So I will go, and as I said, I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants right now because PowerPoint has decided not to work once again for us. So, and before you make anything say, any comment, any wisecracks, and I think it's the Knight who says Neek, and I think actually it's Big J as well, the Microsoft bill has been paid. Anyhow, let's dive into it. Look at the VIX, the S&P 500, both of those trading higher, much higher today. We're going to trade into new high territory, obviously driven by this news. Other areas I would look at it, transports, and more specifically at the IYT itself. There are some trades in here, CHR, WJB Hunt, that we've been talking about quite a bit. And if we get the airline sector kind of mixed in, we'll look at the chart of the jets in a few moments as well. If we get the airline sector mixed into this, the IYT is going to turn into the semiconductor sector for the last quarter of the year, which is going to, I'm glad you didn't say it. Somebody did make that joke though, which is going to make things a little bit interesting because as you'll see, let's go to some of the charts here very quickly. Doop, doop. And it is, as Jerry points out, Apple going through the roof, and the shorts have got to be dying. Also, Tesla, the Tesla shorts are always dying. You cannot fight those names. And this is they're all going into pre-split type of activity here as well. So anyhow, I wanted to take a look real quickly at the IYT and kind of walk you through this. And I've got a little bit of it. And this, again, takes some of the fanfare away from what I was going to be able to give you later in this afternoon or in the slideshow. Oh, okay. Make sure you have your. I can't get it out into the weeds trying to read a couple of the comments there. I'll look at that in a second, ZB. So you've got the IYT right now making its way towards 200, and this is along the lines of the back of, or if you will, of companies like CHRW and also JB Hunt. These are the companies that have taken this up and really pushed it. JBHT would be your ticker symbol on JBHT. Similar situation to what we've seen with the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500. So your companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, not so much your Twitter, but, a lot of these companies that are heavily weighted in the NASDAQ 100 have been just absolutely grabbing the rest of the market and pulling it up. You have the same effect now in the transports with the trucking companies that are actually, and to some degree, the rails. You can look at CSX and see a little bit of that trade there. I wanted to start to tear this apart this week for you. The CSX is trading sideways a little bit, whereas you've got JB Hunt and those other transport companies. The trucks are rolling heavily, let's say, and they've turned more into an investment and not even that saw trade, but more of an investment. Want you to be aware of that as we move into the second half, or let's call it the fourth quarter of the year. And it feels weird to say fourth quarter of the year. These are the companies that have kind of boosted simply because we've decided that there's not going to be a close down of the economy again. Remember, the airliners, even if we don't have that shutdown of the economy, the airliners still have to deal with getting people on the planes. The resorts still have to deal with getting people in to the resort. So it's not necessarily a fact that they just have to be open, but Disney actively has to get you into the park, which they're having problems doing. So when we look towards where the opportunities are with this reopened economy and the fact that it's not going to close down, and that we're still seeing some estimates that we're going to see another resurgence as we hit the flu and allergy season, you want to keep an eye on those companies like JB Hunt. I mentioned last week, I wish they had a trucking only segment of the IY, because right now this is what I would be long. You and I are going to talk about these. We're going to be putting a lot of the of effort into charting these and finding a few opportunities. Another one of those is the discounters. We've been talking about the discounters, and I get pulled out all the time about TJ Maxx, which was actually written about very bullishly in Barron's this week. How TJ Maxx, despite the earnings. And if we watch that 50-day, and that's what I pointed out last week, we want to watch the 50-day very closely here with TJ Maxx, because the discounters still have a huge advantage, an absolute huge advantage over the large department stores like Macy's, who are going to sit around. But there's still that bifurcated part of the sector. When you look at Tractor Supply, that is now trading up at 155 or almost up at 155. When you look at Ollie's, going to announce earnings on Thursday. When you look at these companies that are either in a very specific farming, obviously, and that's going to come off a little bit. That trade is actually going to come off a little bit as we start to hit November. Winter growing season, obviously much slower than what we see in the summer. But keep an eye on these companies. And Dollar Tree today, this morning, upgraded by the Telsey Group. Probably one of the best retail firms out there. The other one is Dollar General, that was upgraded this morning as well. So we're seeing initiations and upgrades come in on these companies as the realization that they are going to be picking up even more of that, if you will, discounted retail product and being able to put it back out there in the market. So keep an eye on these sectors, and I'm going to work this week at breaking down the retail sector into these groups. When you look at a lot of those back to school, we've been hearing about back to school. Gap stores has been doing much better than a lot of the others. Walmart, as was just mentioned, has been doing well, trying to catch back up and play a more active role. Costco started to catch its bid. These are the companies that I want you to start to keep more of an eye on. Lowe's, Home Depot, obviously, are going to are going to be the ones that continue to press higher. But I want you to focus on some of these discounters over the next couple of weeks, especially as we see those earnings start to roll in later this week. Interesting. Big J, you know what? Walmart actually announced a couple of weeks ago that they were doing this. It's a fantastic idea. It's actually kind of like a touring drive-in theater. The thing is, you can't get tickets for it. We have somebody that was going to actually, it was way out on the east side of Cincinnati. I was kind of looking into it, thought it would be a fun thing to go out and see, do my walk down Main Street. And it's a genius idea because you get people that come into the parking lot, go in and buy their snacks and stuff like that, come out and watch. They're already sold out for September, though. They're already sold out for September. So it's going to be interesting to see, how Walmart continues to make its way through what is the back to school season. Also, news that Notre Dame is going online. It's going to be interesting this week to see how that kind of switches around what we're seeing at the college level in terms of going back to school. Miami University here locally actually started to see an increase in their students that are announcing that they've got the COVID, they've been affected by the COVID-19. So I will set that up for you, Derry. I can have that set up for you guys pretty easily, I think. Let me get back to you on that. Ollie heads into earnings on Thursday, and I am bullish on the stock right now, sitting at 110. Stock's been trading sideways, looking for a catalyst. I believe earnings is going to be it. It's been at the last 2 times around. Stock has rallied about an 8.5% within 5 trading days after the earnings announcement. The options aren't pricing that in yet right now. We're seeing about a 6% premium priced in the options when I looked at it. And so this is one of those trades where you might be able to sneak away with something. And Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll be getting a little closer to looking at those Ollie options, simply because this would be a situation where you could, a lot of people letting it fly under the radar screen. When we look at options on many of these companies, and especially your Facebook and Tesla and all those companies, the premiums go through the roof 3 or 4 or even 5 days before the earnings. In this case, Ollie's is not pricing in the move that we normally see, which means that you've got, I hate to use it, but it's almost an arbitrage situation with Ollie's as it heads into its earnings. And part of that is because you've seen that it's gone a little bit zero volatility here across that 110 and in between that 100 level. So a 10% trading range, gone sideways. It lets the options traders or those selling the options feel like it's not going to have a breakout. Problem is, you get a breakout like this where it moves all of a sudden 13% one day, and those 8% or even 6% option premiums that they're pricing in right now get blown away. Is it an opportunity to sell those options ahead? No, absolutely not. This is one that I would stay away from selling any options ahead of the earnings announcement. Is it one to buy when they're cheap? Absolutely. That's the way to go at it. Let's talk about a couple of the airlines, and I'm going through my notes here mentally, guys. So sorry, you're going to have to hang along with me. Don't have the slide in front of me because of whatever happened with PowerPoint, but let's talk about what was in that slide with the airlines. American Airlines up 4% this morning on the news that the warp speed is going much faster. Not going to take us out of this trading range, though, and that's the thing I'd like to point out. One company that was in the airline sector, and I mentioned to you last week the Strikepoint that I've been working on, the Strikepoint formula. Delta Airlines is starting to look like it is now lining itself up to be a Strikepoint stock, but the one that really got my attention, LUV, Southwest. In this particular case, you've got the 20-day coming up, getting ready to cross up on that 50-day. We're not overbought yet on the stock. And the 50-day is now starting to inch into a bullish trend. So this is one of those situations that I look at and say, Delta Airlines, LUV, and LUV a little bit better shape. And let's expand this out a little for you so you can really see that 20-day starting to go bullish on us, and the 50-day is rolling up as well. Those are the 2 key components that go into that strike point. Now that we've got that RSI that's down below that 60 level, gives us room above to move up. Got a target as long as we don't see anything poor happen. And obviously you've got Delta Airlines and a number of the airline companies that are going to start announcing some of their cutbacks. as bad as that news is, it's also good for the airlines. It gets rid of some of the overhead that they're paying right now. We know that they're paying a lot to store those planes out in the desert. This is a situation where I think you could see Southwest Air, who owns a lot of their fleet, make a run at breaking through that $36 and then that $38 level. You know me, I'm not one to be going bullish on airlines, and I'm not one to be going bullish on travel. Carnival, I'd still leave that over in the side, especially with a couple of double hurricanes heading towards Louisiana right now. First one set to hit landfall tomorrow, I believe, and then Thursday for the second. This is a situation where Royal Caribbean and Carnival, I think they're going to be focusing, even though they don't have boats that are sitting there right now. That's going to be a little bit of an overshadow over what's going on with the announcement of some of the therapeutics and the possibility for a vaccine, rather. AstraZeneca making the news also this morning with that same announcement. The stock is up more than 4%. We're going to see it break back up above 57.50. Night trader people, OPCO, OPK, you're going to be getting something after the market opened on this. The stock is failing to hold on to that $5 level. It's time for us to just kick this out and find another opportunity, because the market is turning into a more opportunity-based let's say experience here when we break it down into various sectors, which brings me to a point. Nvidia last week comes out with earnings. DICS, yes. Callaway, yes. Nvidia comes out now up at 520, still looking for that pullback, but there are a trio of stocks in the semiconductor sector that I think we start to need to look at, and it's the idea. It goes back to that basis of investment and trading. Nvidia is your investment in the semiconductor sector. That is all it is. It's not even really a tradable situation right now. It is the Intel of the 1990s and the early 2000s. Nvidia has taken over that role, and it's going to remain in that role. Intel, maybe they come back at some point. But when we start looking out into, some of the other ones that are not necessarily considered semiconductor companies, you find First Solar. First Solar, that deals with the same products. They do deal with semiconductors, obviously. First Solar is more of a aggressive investment, or one of those trading investments, and you can see the opportunities here when we have these runs and then it goes quiet, a run and then it goes quiet. Remind you of anybody? Has a has a tie with the company as well, maybe Tesla. Anyhow, First Solar becomes one of those companies within the semiconductors that is a stealth semiconductor, what I think you can refer to as a stealth semiconductor. I had a great talk with Bill Padalon last night about this idea of the stealth semiconductor sectors, because everybody knows AMD and Taiwan Semi and certainly Nvidia, but what are the stealth stocks that are in that sector right now? And then when you get down to it, you get to companies like IIVI, which are a little more of those growth potential, got racked around last week after their earnings. And then they had the announcement that they're coming in with to acquire another company. Kind of has a little bit of a bearish slant to it right now with the 20 and the 50-day rolling over. But this is definitely the trade in that sector. Also, and this is kind of where things I don't want to say get really exciting, but trying to look at what we've got here. Zoom, take the profits, or time to double down. We'll take a look at BBY and Zoom in just a second. One of the things I wanted to mention in the slide, LDP, Plug's less attractive cousin here, getting another upgrade, trading 5% higher today. And this is, as I mentioned last week, one of those Strikepoint stocks. Not overbought, 20 days turned up, 50 days bullish. We just broke above it. This stock's going to 22 bucks, folks. Ballard Power, BLDP, is going to be making up tracks and trying to catch up with its more attractive cousin, Plug Power here, PLUG, which is now kind of pulling back. Remember, we have a $12 print is what I was looking for to buy back in on this after a 3% trailing stop got triggered after going over $14. $12 may not happen, quite frankly, or at least not over the next couple of days, because that Ballard upgrade now has Plug Power back in everybody's sights, thinking that it's going to shoot up to 15 bucks next. So where's the play here for you? And this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you specifically about. we're going to spend the next week breaking down more of these alternative energy plays, whether it be Blink, whether it be Workhorse, whether it be Plug Power, whether it be Ballard. We're going to spend the next week going through these companies because we throw a bunch of them out, and I threw Ballard out, and Ballard has been around just as long as Plug Power, even longer, working to do it on their own, not through acquisitions. But it's interesting now to find the attraction towards Plug Power overflowing to Ballard now and getting a lot of upgrades, some nice press and barons this weekend. So you are seeing this area, just like we are with EV, and the production of a lot of those EVs can continue to gain even more traction. Now you're seeing this hydrogen area of the market that is really starting to explode. No pun intended here. But you're starting to see companies get wrapped up kind of the way that it happens with semiconductors, where if NVIDIA takes off or AMD takes off, you have a group of these companies that take off. That group think is helping in the alternative energy sector. We're going to spend the next 3 or 4 days talking about that, exactly where the opportunities lie. Right now, I'm looking at Ballard, though. Ballard Power, with the question from ZB here. First of all, let's answer 2 questions. Ballard Power is an investment. It is one of those stocks that I would hold more than 4 or 6 months. It is one that I would look at the portfolio and say 2 years from now, I'm probably going to want to have Ballard Power in my portfolio, right next to Plug Power in terms of the holdings. It would be part of my diversified portfolio, retirement portfolio, a growth in portfolio, whatever you want to call it. The 2 would be there. How long until it hits $22? So that's more of a trade question. I think the stocks run, if we get a couple more upgrades the way we've seen over the last week, I think the stock runs to $22 within the next 4 to 6 weeks pretty easily. Turns it into a tradable situation, looking at, and I'm just throwing numbers out, not even looking at the option montage. You look somewhere around the 1750s. I'm not sure which one it's got right now, probably dollar strikes on it, but let it, something a little bit lower, plays out to October, maybe even November, so you can get some convexity in that run. And all of a sudden you have this stock that runs from, was in the 14s and the 12s to 22. That option gives you a little bit of the convexity to leverage at it. Don't think, I should say, that I'm not looking at it as a potential night trader trade, because it did match that Strikepoint formula that I look for in terms of stocks that are getting ready to roll higher and take off. So with that, look forward to the rest of this week. We're going to be looking at some alternative energy plays and really start to focus in on some of these beyond just the mention. And I love the mention that I've been able to get in on them, and hope that you guys have been taking advantage of that and trading some of these and making some money off of them. But I think we need to get a little further into the nitty gritty and start going beyond the charts, and really who's going to be the leader in these groups and who's going to be the followers, because the followers are going to be worth investing in as well. So with that, we've got, because I have to stick to a tight schedule today, I got the Ballard out of the way. Energy stocks, let's recap real quickly. Transports, I want you to be looking at trucking. I don't want you to be looking at airline, except I want you to keep an eye on Southwest Air with me, as it's a Strikepoint candidate. The stock's 20-day starting to curve higher, breaking above the 50-day, leaving plenty of room on the overbought, oversold signals for room to move higher here. And then you've got Ballard Power right now, which I think if you're looking at Plug Power, you still try to look for that 12 print. That's what I'm looking for with Ballard right now, trading at 1621 on the close, and the stock on today's open is trading at the in the early market trading. Let's see where the futures are trading right now. We've got 1621 on the close, and you're trading 1712 on the open, up 5.58%. The stock's fallen back again. Boy, buying that around 17 bucks looks very attractive. And you can see that top that we've had right around that 1675 is going to be taken out. Ballard Power does not have a lot of short interest, so not as likely to get a short covering rally that we would with some of the other names. And that makes sense because Plug Power also very light on the shorts. Let's go to some of your questions because we've got about 5 minutes to go. Southwest is one of the companies that's being asked for about right now. And this is simply looking at my chart. Obviously, Right now, I think you're looking at a 38 pretty quickly out of the gate with Southwest, and that's going to match the highs that we've seen. You're going to have this is a very traded company right now. You see the volume come in when it hits 38. You see the volume go back out when it comes back down again. I like the fact that it's starting to sawtooth a little bit higher, and you can see that by the fact that the stock is now starting to make slightly higher highs. The 50 and the 20-day are still very flat, which tells me, okay, is it a zero volatility going to sleep? Yes, it is kind of a zero. When you expand it out, it helps you to get a little better view of what that is starting to look like. You've got lower highs here, and then you've got higher lows here until you break down and you break up. That tells me the stock is now starting to open up its range here. And I think 38 to 40 is going to be your next target on this. VIX is going to drop down below 22 or down to 22.5 this afternoon. And we'll be making a rollout on the VIX going out to an October option, or at least adding an October option, perhaps not taking off the September option quite yet. But VIX, obviously, with the move in the market moving a half a percent higher on the open this morning. And we'll see where things trade around 10 or 11 o'clock. But the VIX right now is just kind of ticking away at some of that premium. And at this particular point, I think the rollout to the October option and still play the seasonality, because we do have seasonality in our favor, is going to be the way to go. Any of our stocks heavy on the shorts? You know what? There are a few of the stocks that are in the night trader portfolio that are heavy on shorts that I'm looking forward to a short covering rally to help push them higher. There are these micro caps that I pointed you towards last week, and I still have a list of them up here. PDLI is one of those companies that I've been watching very closely. It is a highly shorted micro cap. This is the area where you want to see a little bit of support obviously come in for the stock ahead of a move higher. My worry is the shorts may have started to get out here when we look at the small caps, and this is the area of the market that I'm telling you all the activity is happening now. A lot of people are getting away from the NASDAQ 100 in terms of the trade, because they've just put themselves on a rail. They're going to be purchased until the end of the year, well beyond the splits. So they're going to go not zero volatility, but if you look at a chart of Apple, and I think everybody here understands the idea of volatility. When you have a stock that does this, that's not volatility. This is an investable stock. You've got volatility here for a moment, and that is because earnings, historically, when you look at any earnings for any company, it's 7 to 8 times more volatile. Now you've gone back into that volatility, no volatility trend. Bullish, which is great. I love it. But at the same time, it's not volatility that you want for a trade. It's volatility that you want for a hold. Let's look at Google. Let's look at Google for a second, because obviously Google has kind of been bouncing around, not really taking the same trend that we've seen in Apple here. Yes, I think you're going to see it actually pull back. The stock has a way of finding that 1600 level. Right now, Google not doing it. I'm surprised that Google has not been part of the talk for TikTok here, rather. I really thought that Google would come in and try and push themselves around and say, hey, we want to be part of this. But then again, it could be simply because Google is Google, and they're already too close to being an antitrust problem. Microsoft obviously still in the running for TikTok. Oh, by the way, those of you that watched last week, we talked about Fastly, FSLY, it being one of those, again, another one of those Strikepoint stocks. Fastly gets an upgrade this morning. The stock's trading about 5% higher pre-market trading. So we're going to see Fastly make its way up to that 120. But my point for bringing up Fastly was because of the TikTok, if you will, hangover that's been going on here. As the stock has been holding on to its 50-day moving average, this is where they had their earnings, announced that, TikTok going away is going to take away their largest buyer or user, if you will. And at this point, and those that were with me last Thursday on the Night Trader Roundtable, I gave Fastly as one of my recommendations that you want to buy as an option. We get into that. This stock's now trading up 5% higher. Fastly is one of those that is an investment that you hold on to right now, but it gives you the opportunity to trade it. Zoom, mentioned and made fun of it, and you're going to see Macy's here for a second. Zoom has been zoomed out in my mind, and that's not, I'm making fun of it when I say this. We're still going to have very much a tradable trend in Zoom, and it is still going to be a stock that's somewhat an investment. I'm waiting for Zoom to get out there and figure out what they're going to do on an enterprise basis, besides doing Zoom Family, where you can have a family chat using your televisions at home, which is what they announced last week. They're really going to have to get into an enterprise type of system, and I think they find a home with a Cisco or somebody that is doing the security side of things much better than they are. Citrix System would be another one that I would look at and say the two of them could be peanut butter and chocolate, and it could make something special happen. Citrix, another great investment stock, as now it makes its way up above that 140, and I think you're going to see that 160 print here before year end. Let me look at a couple more of your Fastly is a buy now. Absolutely, it is. CMRE. Let's pull up the CMRE. You know what? The real estate. And this is, I'm sorry, I'm thinking CBRE. I've got to look at Costa Marie. I got to look at that a little more closely before I can make a determination. It's going on the yellow pad right now, though. EMRE. I'll look at Mercado Libre, a few of the others. PAGS is going to give you their earnings announcement on Thursday after the close. A stock I'm excited to see the results for. 43.09 is where it's trading. Another one of those fintech / payment companies down south of the border, though. So it goes along with the Mercado Libre in terms of a trade, I believe. Kind of replicates an Amazon Square or Amazon PayPal. Love the two stocks together. Love that we're going to see that earnings from PAGS on Thursday. Keep an eye out for that after the market close Thursday. Any other, I'm going to do the next two that I get because we're at 9:20 and it's time for me to, you can hear I'm actually a little bit level-headed, not level-headed, but a little bit quiet and sound more like a newscaster. Maybe we should do it without the slides more often. Actually, I like having the excitement of the slides going here. Let's get a couple more up on the board here, and then we're going to go ahead and I'll give you your greetings for the day. PTON, great one. One of the stocks I actually disliked through much of this, but the company has done basically a Lululemon where they've proven themselves. Peloton right now continues to also look at ways to expand their product. And as we look at, is this, and this, the big question I've had about Peloton is, are we going to see a hangover after there is a virus cure, let's say, or we have, a vaccine that comes out? Is Peloton going to have a hangover because we're all going to go back to the gym? Because quite frankly, I think I've mentioned this to you guys before. I've got some brake rotors that I've been using as kettlebells because you couldn't buy kettlebells. I would love to get back out into the gym, though, and actually be interacting with people. And I wonder what's going to happen with Peloton, whether we're going to see a bunch of these on Facebook Marketplace for sale afterwards. But for now, Peloton continues to do very well, even though they don't have retail spaces operating for them right now. I see the stock continuing to head up towards that $80 mark. Another, let me check the Q&A here real quickly, because there are some questions in here. How much further do I see Zoom running before they hit their earnings report on the 31st? I don't think you're going to see it run much further, much higher. I mean, you've got 1 week before earnings. You will see a little bit of a buy the news on Zoom ahead of that earnings report, but I don't think that it's going to be, I don't know why I just put in Zoom. I don't DM there. I actually put in Zoom thinking that the computer would know I wanted to see the chart for Zoom. I think that you've seen the run here as we've gone up from that 240 to almost $300 over the last 7 trading days. So buy the rumor on this, and I think you'll see the sell the news. Buy the rumor, and the rumor's already. I am still expecting the NVIDIA pullback. If you look at NVIDIA, typically you see an average of 8% pullback after their earnings. They popped much higher. 8.64% would have put it at 440, around 440. I still think you're going to see a 450 or so on NVIDIA, and I would turn into a purchase at that. JD absolutely is going to continue. Anything that's an online cataloger, this is going to see a little bit of a sell, bring a little bit of a pullback. not that much further back. The report was very, very, very strong. I think this turns into a new trend, not as aggressively to the upside. We won't see this kind of parabolic move. It's going to level out a little bit at the tangent of this. Perhaps a little bit of a pullback to the $70 level is what's going to be natural, because that's what your high was back in July. I don't know when we hit the Google Peloton. Tesla is always going to be a buy, guys. Tesla is going to continue to be a buy. You're going to get some sawtooth action in there every once in a while, but that sawtooth is basically the stock flattening out. I could see us, now that we're above the 2000 level, kind of taking a little rest. Everybody loves round numbers. The more zeros, the better. 2000's got a bunch of them. So I think you're probably going to see that be the situation here as we look at Tesla over the next couple of weeks. So with that, I'm going to do as I always do and wish you the best trading success. We're heading 5 minutes away from the open here. The television in the back went off. We're going to have to turn that off. The television in the back gave with my screen, my market card that went away. So I'll be with you tomorrow. Oh, no, I'm sorry. DR will be with you tomorrow on Tuesday. I'll be with my night trader people tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And then, of course, Wednesday, 8:45. And then Wednesday afternoon, I'm going to take a little bit of time to myself. Going to see that dentist guy again. So, but you will see me Wednesday morning as well. Get out there, transports, look at the trucking companies. That's where we want to focus our effort. Southwest Air right now makes it to a Strikepoint buy, as well as a few others. Fastly is also in my pocket, as well as a nice trade here. Continue watching those transports, though. As I said, the Jets are kind of holding them back. If you want to look at the Jets ETF, that's the thing that they're the only thing that's holding it back right now. The IYT is now becoming the XSD for the last quarter of 2020, though. We're going to be wanting to focus a lot of attention on the transport companies as we make our way through the next 3 months. And then, as I mentioned, discounters as we head in. Ollie this week, PAGS on Thursday afternoon. You're going to see a lot of excitement from these stocks, as well as your buy on Fastly. All right, guys, I always wish you the best trading success. I always end by saying that. Hope you have a fantastic day. Get out there, enjoy whatever weather you've got, and I will talk to you tomorrow, rather Wednesday morning. All right, have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.